Hello there my music lovers, I'm Audiophile and today we are having a look at Lotoo S2. This is a $280 DAC/headphone amplifier made by Lotoo, a company part of the Infomedia group. This DAC/headphone amplifier may be the best dongle I have reviewed to date. And some reviewers even said that it sounds like a mini PAW 6000, which I kind of agree with. Now, we should first talk about the size. I have tried placing it on myself so that I can get some idea of how small it is. It comes with this case that has a clip in the default package, and my unit also came with both cables from USB Type-C to Type-C, also Lightning to Type-C, so it can be used with both iPhones and Android smartphones. It has both a single-ended and a balanced headphone output. The single-ended one is in the 3.5mm style, while the balanced headphone output is in the 4.4mm style. It has a Type-C input at the top, and as I've said, you need cables, and it has physical touch volume button controls. To start with the controls, it has a function button which you can use to cycle through the function it has. It has multiple equalizer modes, and even if you're not a big equalizer guy, the equalizer function on those Lotoo PAW devices is outstandingly well implemented. I cannot emphasize this enough. Lotoo really knows how to make an equalizer. I even use this exclusively with equalizer enabled with some headphones and IEMs. It has a plus and a minus button. The plus button is at the top, the minus button is at the bottom, and those two control volume. If you press them like this, if you keep them pressed, they tend to increase or decrease the volume, and there is a pause/play button. I need to explain this. It has its own inner volume, different from your smartphone. So for example, if I have it connected to my smartphone, it has its own volume which goes from 0 to 100, and I can still use the volume buttons on my smartphone like this, which is an interesting thing to notice. I keep it at about 100 at the maximum volume, and then I tend to lower the volume from my smartphone, even though it degrades the sound a bit because my smartphone has much larger steps. It is a bit bothering for me to keep pressing many times on it. I also don't really press on it because the Type-C cable is very short and it sticks like this to my smartphone, and I just treat it like this. I tend to hold it like this, connected to my smartphone with one hand. This is how I go on the street while using the Lotoo S2. There is no Bluetooth function, so this is not a replacement for FIO BTR5. Rather, it is a stub and replacement for most mid-range DAC or digital audio players, and it is a replacement for dongles such as Questyle M15 because it outclasses the Questyle M15 quite a bit when it comes to resolution, detail, driving power, and a low noise floor. If you don't know what that means, well, it means that the Lotoo S2 has zero background noise or hissing with IEMs. It is surprisingly silent. And you probably don't care about this because the background noise floor is not audible with most music playing, but I notice it quite a bit when no music is playing. For example, when I'm between songs and I'm just waiting to change the song, you notice that there is absolutely no noise with this one. While with Questyle M15 and other dongles, there is usually a bit of hissing going on in the background. That's always happening. I think that this clip case design is quite nice because you can have it clipped here, but the one problem I naturally noticed is that even though you have a clip case, you have a very short USB cable, so you aren't likely to clip it to anything. The only situation in which you are going to clip it to something is if you clipped it to your smartphone's case, like kinda like that, but my smartphone's case doesn't allow for it. The sonic performance of the Lotoo S2 is as good as they say. It is even better. It is everything you've dreamed of and more. It basically replaces the Lotoo 6000 in my mind. I don't really need the Lotoo 6000 when I have the Lotoo S2. And this is where most reviewers have pointed at and have hinted at. When you have this, you won't need to use a different headphone and you won't need to use a music player anymore. It is better than the Shinning M3X, for example, when it comes to resolution, detail, and overall refinement in the sound. It is better than Lotoo 6000 when it comes to portability because it is smaller, although the battery life of Lotoo 6000 was quite good, and it is better than my Xiaomi Black Shark 4 has together with the Lotoo S2. It doesn't drain your smartphone's battery that much, but it eats some of that. So if you're listening for a few hours, you are going to notice the differences between using this and a smartphone and using a portable music player. I think that sonically I prefer using the Lotoo S2 than using the FIO M11 Pro. The Lotoo S2 tends to have slightly better overall detail, slightly better resolution, and slightly better overall punchiness. While the FEW-M11 Pro doesn't really have anything above the Lotoo S2. I have no idea how they managed to cramp such good and efficient circuits inside, but it does get quite warm during usage, so it is full of circuits. You are going to notice that it is warm or even hot to the touch, but we are in summer Romania, so if you live in colder climates, you may not notice that so much. Speaking of the headphones that I've been able to drive with the Lotoo S2, I was able to drive the Sivka Peacock with it, up to its maximum possible performance, and looks like this. So it's basically like a little bump on their cable. Look at this. This is how they look together, and this tiny thing is able to drive those large planar headphones to their maximum potential. The only thing that actually controls them a bit better as far as amplifiers go is the Cyrus One cast, which I use as the speaker amplifier too. The Cyrus One cast tend to have slightly better overall control and slightly better overall punchiness, but the Lotoo S2 is surprisingly good. I mean, look at this, look at the size, and look at what it is able to drive. This is how I felt about it all of the time reviewing it. It is able to drive HiFi Man Araya Stealth, it is able to drive HiFi Man Ananda, it is able to drive Rosoner AD0, LCD2C, pretty much everything under the sun. It has better driving power and better control than the Equalizer M15. I keep mentioning the Equalizer M15 because they are pretty much the two most expensive dongle DACs that I've reviewed so far, and they are going to trade blows. I need to compare them. The Lotoo S2 is the better one out of them because it is stronger, it has better driving power, and it has lower distortions at maximum volume. On the other hand, the sound on the Equalizer M15 is a bit wider in soundstage, while the Lotoo S2 has slightly better instrument separation. This one defines each instrument better, while the Equalizer M15 tends to have slightly better dynamics. It is quite complicated to put it like that, but the Lotoo S1 in most configurations will sound a bit more natural, a bit fuller, and will have a slightly better bass, slightly thicker sound, and slightly better overall impact, while Equalizer M15 will sound a bit brighter, a bit more hollow compared to the Lotoo S2. And the Equalizer M15 is going to be a bit more airy, where the Lotoo S2 doesn't emphasize on a sensation of space as much as it emphasizes on the sensation of depth. It creates more depth, more distance between you and the sound source, while the Equalizer M15 tends to make everything wider and stand farther apart in laterally. The Lotoo S2 is better at spreading things better all around the listener. It has a multitude of equalizer profiles defined by Lotoo, which is quite useful. Some of them are very handy. For example, if you have a very dark headphone, you can use the sweet profile on the Lotoo S2 and it will tune that up, it will brighten it a bit. While if you have a very bright, sharp or deafening headphone, you can use the bassier profiles to tame it and to give it a more natural sound. The Lotoo S2 is one of my favorite dongle DAC. That much is for sure. I think that this is my favorite dongle DAC to date. It has lower noise floor than all of the other dongle DACs I've heard. It has better driving power than all of them, the highest driving power in a single dongle DAC, and it has pretty much the best sound of all the dongle DACs that I've used to date. The drawback is the price, of course. At $280 it is the priciest dongle DAC that I've seen to date. There is no question about it. It is the price. It costs more than most mid-range music players. You could purchase yourself a second-hand FEW-M11 Pro or even better with this money. But I think it is better to go for this if you use your smartphone and streaming a lot. For example, if you have Tidal, most DAPs will struggle with Tidal compared to a smartphones are just faster, they have better antennas inside, and they just work better with Tidal and all of those streaming apps. This one connects to your smartphone instantly, it has no delay, and it can even be used as a desktop DAC/headphone amplifier. For example, I've used it with my computer whenever I don't want to listen to my large speakers and when I want to listen to a pair of headphones or IEMs, and when I don't want to take a DAP, power it, use it, I just go for this. I just go for the tiny little Lotoo S2. I hope that I've convinced you to either purchase or not purchase it. I'm not here to convince you to purchase it. I'm here to convince you to like this channel and to press subscribe and like the video. This is what I'm trying to convince you of. Also, if you could donate, that would be very helpful. But I'm not trying to sell this to you. It is extremely expensive for a dongle DAC. It is the best dongle DAC you can buy. And if you want a very high resolution, high-end dongle DAC, this is going to be it. I cannot recommend something more at this point. At least from everything I've heard, this was the top dongle DAC created. may not be for you. You may want a music player. Go for a music player. I have many videos on that, and I hope you will keep watching the channel. I hope you'll use the Amazon links in the video description if you decide to purchase something, because every single dollar going to me is going to pay for the electricity spent in editing the video, in powering the lights across my room and such. I thank you so much for watching. I hope I've been a pleasing host, and I hope this channel will keep being entertaining for you. I hope we'll see each other really soon. Bye bye!